Destroy WrestleTalk.
Soon everything will be Fakador.
Ronda Rousey vacates the title. Ronda Rousey gets the title back. Ronda Rousey turns heel. Go home, WWE, you're drunk. Also, the real reason behind a backstage WWE firing has been revealed. Click the timestamps in the video description below to go straight to any of those stories. I'm Oli Davis. Give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, and answer our question of the day in the comments. Do you think Ronda turned heel in the main event segment? Where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. And click the eye above my head to give your rating of the show, where you can choose from Rawsome, Core, Average, Poor, and Rawful, as I review the 4th of March 2019 edition of Monday Night Raw. After brilliantly revealing he's in remission from leukemia last week, Roman Reigns opened the show again here. Boo Roman! Boo Roman Reigns! We like him now. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the whole cheering thing. Yay, Roman. He cut an in-ring promo about how now he's back, he wants something that Seth Rollins is blocking. It was a smart piece of writing, making you think he's talking about the Universal Championship he never lost, and how Seth's fighting for it at WrestleMania, for Roman to then reveal it was actually something far more personal. He wanted to get the band back together one last time. As his recent bout with leukemia has taught him, it's the people around you who matter most in life. And then teaming up with those people to beat up randomly assorted mid-card heels. Seth eventually came round to the idea, but Dean Ambrose was attacked by Elias with a guitar before he could answer. It set up a night-long storyline of Roman and Seth trying to get an emotionally distracted Dean back on side, with such 100% naturalistic dialogue as Seth calling Ambrose his wrestling soulmate, which is now the name of the dating app I'm developing. Where are you, Torrie Wilson? Baron Corbin's Midcard of Evil with Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley mocked the Shield backstage next, before having a 6-man tag against Kurt Angle, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman. No one can escape
the Midcard vortex of Baron Corbin!
This match was even less interesting than when they had it a month ago, with Lio Rush back interfering on Bobby's behalf and then getting tackled through the timekeeper's area by Strowman. He's really got to learn to change direction when running. It was enough to give the heels the win, and then even more heat as they beat up Balor and Kurt afterwards. Seth and Roman were presumably too busy being wrestling soulmates backstage to help out. Natalya beat Ruby Riott in a few minutes with a shock roll-up victory, and then Lacey Evans did her half-entrance thing again. Ruby sure feels special coming off that Ronda Rousey feud. After Batista promised he'd show up to confront Triple H next week in an Instagram clip, Hunter cut a weird work shoot promo about Richard Flair, Ric Flair's real name, and how Hunter was by his side when they buried Ric's son and during Flair's health scare last year. He used that as evidence against a phony Batista, who he accused of playing a bad guy, that this isn't a game, this is real. It was a very well-delivered emotional promo, but by focusing on how this feud is real, rather undermines the rest of what's happening elsewhere on the show and in Triple H's career thus far, implying that everything else is fabricated. It was a solid next chapter in the feud, but alongside some of the other kayfabe puncturing angles on this episode, it began to weaken the show's credibility. At least we've got the super believable portrayal of Otis from Heavy Machinery to win us back around. And I'm actually being half serious, as Otis broke his usual eccentric delivery to realistically say his feelings have been hurt by the rest of Raw's tag division making fun of him. In just one line, I was suddenly invested in him as a person rather than a series of fun wrestling spots. Sadly, the crowd weren't, and they were largely silent for Heavy Machinery's clean sweep gauntlet match over the Ascension, the B-Team, and Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Torrie Wilson was announced as the latest inductee in the WWE Hall of Fame, with her promo package seemingly playing in reverse like Benjamin Button. Tell me your secret for eternal youth! Dean put over yet another mid-card heel on his lengthy way out of the company next. Not you, EC3! You get 50-50 booking, losing to Elias while still selling his back from the earlier beatdown. Reigns and Rollins tried one more time with their wrestling soulmate afterwards, but Dean just left through the crowd. A nice reference to the Shield entrance entrance. But quicker than you can say disappointment, Baron Corbin's Midcard of Evil appeared to beat up Rollins and Reigns, leading to Dean running back for the save and finally reuniting the team with a fist bump, setting up a Shield versus Midcard of Evil match at WWE Fastlane, baby. Meaning Strowman, Kurt and Balor were just used as fodder over the last month to get over the heels, and Elias' involvement in the storyline was purely filler. Reigns' return to the ring is genuinely astounding, but everything since has featured incredibly lazy booking. In the reverse of last week's Bayley beating Nia Jax match, we got Sasha Banks losing to Tamina here. Another storyline running throughout the show was Stephanie McMahon revealing that Saturday Night Live's Michael Che and Colin Jost will be special guest correspondents at WrestleMania. They had a series of unfunny skits backstage, which is par the course for celebrities in WWE, but Jost's heel portrayal was severely misjudged. First joking about how he's up to date with WWE to reel off a bunch of 80s and 90s acts, which would be funny if he wasn't then confronted by undercard nobodies Titus O'Neil, EC3 and No Way Jose, meaning it was just depressing, and then asking Braun Strowman if any of this is even real. The answer, provided by WWE, is no, most definitely not, as Strowman then lifted Jost up by his neck over the course of an entire ad break, which Jost didn't sell one bit once he was put back down. The top tier of Raw's tag division completed its transformation into NXT call-up support group next, with Aleister Black and Ricochet's title match against the Revival ending in a no DQ when Chad Gable and Bobby Roode attacked the champions. Black and Ricochet were impressive as always, but they really should be booked independently on the main roster. It seems as though the only reason they're a tag team is because Tommaso Ciampa is currently injured, and Black and Ricochet are simply doing what WWE originally had planned for him and Johnny Gargano. I'm going to recap the main event segment in the scope of the larger Becky vs Ronda vs Charlotte storyline since the Royal Rumble. Half to keep track of things, half to lay out how ridiculous everything's become. Because in the last 5 weeks we've had Becky getting injured, Becky getting suspended, Becky getting reinstated, the McMahons turning heel, the McMahons turning babyface, Becky getting replaced by Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, still for very little explanation, and a McMahon turning heel again, Becky getting arrested and suspended, Ronda vacating the Raw Women's title, WWE dropping all charges against Becky, unsuspending her, and then putting her in a vacated title match against Charlotte, Ronda returning upon hearing this and getting given the title back, a match getting booked between Charlotte and Becky, where if Becky wins, she's reinserted into the WrestleMania main event, Ronda turning heel by trashing the crowd and beating down Becky while Charlotte looks on. 5 weeks! All that happened in 5 weeks! Ronda versus Becky is not a storyline that needs suspensions, arrests, and McMahon heel authority figures, let alone all of the above, in just over a month of TV. This is a very simple blood feud between two people, yet WWE have overbooked it to a laughable extent. And to cap off the total lunacy, Stephanie had to cut an improvised backstage promo when the episode seemingly underran by 5 minutes, likely because Ronda rushed through her promo and the closing shot was of Rousey posing on the turnbuckle while you could audibly hear a producer yelling, "Tell her to hold up the title!" This was a pretty awful episode, showcasing the worst parts of WWE booking. Sometimes too superficial, like with the Shield reunion, sometimes way too complicated, like the overbooking of Rousey versus Lynch. This week's Raw is poor. But now it's over to Luke with the news and the real reason behind that backstage WWE firing.
Great review, Oli. On point as always. We kick off today's news with the sad reporting that the world didn't just lose 90210 star and father of All Elite Wrestling's Jungle Boy Luke Perry, as well as Keith Flint of The Prodigy yesterday, as the wrestling world lost big man legend King Kong Bundy. Bundy began his wrestling career in 1981, signing with the then WWF in 1985, getting a monster push, facing Hulk Hogan in a steel cage for the WWF Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 2. Our thoughts are with the family of King Kong Bundy at this time. In the last week, it's been reported that WWE had rehired Bruce Pritchard in what was rumored to be a creative role, as well as Dana Warrior to give a female perspective, and Bleacher Reporter writer Dave Schilling to also join the creative team. Well, it seems they're not alone, as the ever-reliable WrestleVote is reporting that the newest name to sit in on important creative meetings with his opinions being held in high regard is Jason Jason Jordan. The former Raw Tag Team Champion and storyline son of Kurt Angle last wrestled in February 2018, where he was getting a major push against Seth Rollins. Sadly, an injury ended their WrestleMania plans, and it was reported by both Mike Johnson of PW Insider and Dave Meltzer of The Wrestling Observer that WWE considered Jordan to be retired as of September last year, when his injury and surgery were a lot worse than they first thought. But among all the new hirings, there was also an interesting firing, with Pro Wrestling Sheet first reporting that WWE had let go of backstage producer Arn Anderson. While details remained largely unknown, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that there was an incident at a house show that led to a huge argument between Anderson and Vince McMahon, an argument that resulted in AA being fired. And thanks to the folks at Wrestling Inc., we may now know the reason that caused that argument. According to the website, Anderson was in charge of a house show event where Alicia Fox turned up while she was allegedly intoxicated, and Anderson still let her go out and work her match. Wrestling Inc. writes word got back to Vince McMahon, who was reportedly furious when he found out. There were apparently some other issues with Anderson in the past, however that was the final straw. It should be noted that the last house show event Fox appeared on was February 10th, where she lost in a 6-woman tag with Mickie James and Nikki Cross against Bayley, Dana Brooke and Natalya. And according to Fightful, WWE have offered Alicia Fox rehab, but she went absent to the point where several people in the company didn't know if she'd accepted and gone to rehab or if she was just absent from work, which reportedly isn't that uncommon. Fightful add that Fox has been on thin ice several times in the past, including the Travis Browne incident last year at WrestleMania and turning up 2 hours late for a show when she was in line for a big push. Is a major WWE star really injured, and how will that affect their upcoming pay-per-view plans? Click Oli Davis's video over there to check that out, and click the link to get your name in the credits that you see scrolling into my stomach, and join Wrestle League, where you can compete against Oli El Fakador and myself in wrestling predictions. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling!